Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I want to talk about the real value of work. I think it's been lost. And I could give you some examples of that. People tend to not even know why they're working anymore. They will value um, their work over their lives. I know people who went to work during a blizzard that killed people. I think we had 60 people die, and this is where I live. Like, because they got stuck in their cars because they couldn't see, they couldn't drive. It was horrible. There was snow everywhere. It was like I couldn't. It was past my mailbox in my own house. I couldn't make out the street from the snow. I didn't know where anything was. It was it looked horrible. I have a picture of it. But just to give you an example of how people will go to work, my own boss thought that we were going to come into work that day, and she had to be told by her superiors to go home. And she even said maybe tomorrow. And it's like, you really think it's going to be better by tomorrow? Are you crazy? I mean, even if it stops, we still have like a ridiculous like feet of snow to get rid of. This isn't just going to go away. So it lasted like 2 or 3 days. It killed people. And this is the same thing with the pandemic. People tried to go to work, even though they might get sick. So people will go to work even if they're going to die. People will go to work even if they're going to get sick. And of course, people will go to work even if they're really not feeling up to it. They're having a terrible mental health day. They're not with it, but they feel like they have to go in. People do not prioritize their mental, physical, or emotional well being at all regarding work. And I think the root problem here is that people don't even know why we work in the first place. We've lost sight of that. I want you to picture a small organization, a little village, a settlement, you could say. Just a few people living together, some houses, I don't know, a well, a farm, maybe, and so small that everyone kind of knows each other. In a situation like this, there really is no need even for a currency because everyone pretty much understands what their role is and how it affects the town as a whole. Everyone understands how what they're doing is a contribution to the greater good. If you're farming, if you're cleaning, whatever it may be, you're getting food, you're helping to keep things running. And no one really needs to explain it to you because it's self-evident. The same way that in a household, someone might tell you to, I don't know, take out the garbage or something, or clean up after yourself. Or, everyone takes turns cleaning like rooms that everyone uses. You know what I mean? Like, it's just there's no need to pay someone to do it because we're all sharing the same space. We all benefit from having it being done. So it's just kind of common sense. The problem is that with work, I hear people talk about work all the time in a way that doesn't sound anything like that. It's like, oh, well, people, we gotta work, we can't retire. We gotta work, we gotta work, we gotta work. And I have to ask you, do you even know who you're working for at this point? Do you even know what it's accomplishing at this point? There is a deeper issue, and I don't want to dive into it because I don't think it's really helpful. I think I could just focus more on the solution. But I'll give you a little brief run through of what I think is going on. I think that we have an issue with people being dishonest about their intentions, people in power, leaders, wealthy people, essentially, because money and power are kind of one and the same. I mean, there isn't really a lot that you can't get done with money because if you pay someone enough, they they're very willing to just conveniently forget all of their morals and values and ethics and just think about how good their life would be if they had just taken that money. So this is also a decision that a lot of people are driven to by poverty, feeling like you have no choice. If you are drowning and someone throws you a life preserver, you're not going to ask them if it's made of, I don't know, green material or if it's like, wait, is this plastic? Never mind, give me one that's better. You're just going to grab the life preserver. So you know what I mean? Like that's part of the issue is that people who are panicked and drowning, they're going to take whatever they can to get out of that situation. It's a desperate like, clawing at safety, and it's very panicked, not logical. So people put their morality off to the side and just do whatever they can to survive. It's very sad. But then the people on the boat throwing the life preserver, um, they're only thinking about what they want. They're not thinking about you. They're not throwing you a life preserver because um, they actually want to save your life. They need you to do something for them. That's why they're trying to save your life. And they're trying to incentivize you to do it. So, and it works. So that is essentially the issue. If you want to break down more specifically what that looks like, use names, use terms, and break down different cultures and societies around the world that are, doing this, go right ahead. I won't stop you, but I'm not going to waste time on that. I just want to focus on explaining how this came to be in the first place and what I think we can do about it. So I think the best solution is to just simply start calling things out. Be a little bit brave. When that person throws you a life preserver, yell at them. Be offended because it is insulting. They're not doing it to save your life. They just want to use you. So call it out and encourage other people to do the same. Start actually trying to think about what matters in the first place because like I said, would you rather drown or spend the rest of your life working for someone who doesn't even care about you and just wants to use you on a boat? In that example, they throw you a life preserver. Sure, they saved your life, but now you're basically just a slave to them and you're just going to do whatever they want. Which is actually worse. The problem is we aren't thinking about it like that. We aren't weighing it that way. We're just, all we know is, I don't want to die. So we don't really take the time to say, but is this really a better alternative? And that's, I think, what the issue is. We have a lot of people who effectively are just um, slaves, you know, servants to the wealthy, and they're just getting little bits of little tastes, just enough to keep them going. Like, here's a little bit of the wealth, here's a little bit of what we have. We'll give it to you if you do this for us. Quid pro quo, essentially. And then what? It's never enough. You always need more. And, let's say that you do make enough. I think America in particular has this reputation of being really rich. I think what people don't realize is that we do have a lot of money in this country, but it is not evenly distributed among the citizens. It is being hoarded by a few people, these billionaires. And every time somebody is working and earns money, they may hypothetically have earned enough to retire. But then the problem is that they're then encouraged to spend all of their money on luxuries like a new TV or a new bigger house, or and then then get a family, and then you got to afford to take care of them and new mouths to feed, and just it goes on and on and on. There's so many things people buy that people don't even realize that you get addicted to coffee, you get addicted to cigarettes, expensive as hell. These are things that people spend more money than they even want to know. Like, if you actually saw the total accumulated of little things that you spend money on every day, a little $5 cup of coffee, if you saw how much money you spent on coffee in your whole life, you would probably want to throw up. It's sickening because it's a scam, and it's not really making you feel like you're living a more luxurious or rich life. You may be living, technically, if someone who was living in, I don't know, a third world country, someone who really is fighting for food every day, they are likely a lot more grateful, maybe even happier, because they probably have their values in order. They know what actually matters. And then people who are in, the situation that I just explained, spending money they don't have on things they don't need, they're probably kind of miserable and kind of feeling like hopeless. Like, they don't even know why they're miserable. They're like, oh, I have all these nice things. And it's like, yeah, but when do you even have time to use them? You're constantly just working day and night, and you still can barely afford basic necessities. So, yeah, they're there. The money's there, the food is there, the nice things are there, but every time you buy something nice, you're giving the money to make rich people richer, and you're losing money that you could have spent on, I don't know, saving up to actually be able to just enjoy life. So we don't live in a small settlement anymore where everyone actually knows what their purpose is and why they're working. We live in a society that is so prosperous that we don't even really need to work. But the the rich, They want you to believe that everyone has to work, and they forget to explain why. They're not telling you, well, if you, I mean, somebody's got to do this. Somebody's got to, I don't know, take the garbage out or man the counter at a retail store, like, I don't know, grocery store or something like that. Some, you pick the jobs and you're just like, well, somebody's got to do it. And I would say to you, but there are a lot more jobs than that. First of all, a lot of those jobs entail doing things that really don't need to be done in the first place. Um, which I think is part of the issue, is that, you're not just selling people groceries and things that they need. You're also selling people a bunch of things that they don't need, and fast food and junk food, and it's all overpriced, and you're underpaid. That's the issue, is that a lot of the jobs that I could name that are actually necessary, the jobs in which you might actually see the value of it and the way that it helps the community, those are the jobs that are considered like bottom of the barrel, the worst paying jobs, um the most degrading jobs. And why, though? I mean, if they're really that valuable, if we would be screwed without them, why aren't they treated better? I think the fear maybe is that if they're treated better, then they won't want to work. But have a little faith in people, man. If the job really is necessary, people will do it because they know it needs to be done. And I think that's why they think that they can get away with paying people such a little amount, is because they know people are going to do it anyway. So but then the problem is that even though these jobs are necessary and people are going to have to do them anyway, the people who are doing them are not able to afford to even survive. They're struggling to pay for their housing, and then they make it illegal to be homeless, and then you could get arrested for being homeless, and then you could go, um, spend time in prison, where I think some prisoners are actually being used for free labor, which is a whole other thing. And I've said I didn't want to get into this, and I started running at the mouth a little bit, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go overboard into that. You can do your own research, like I said, but I just wanted to give you a little more insight onto what is actually going on and just how bad it is. So I want to encourage you to think about what the work you're actually doing contributes to the world, and trust that you don't have to do something just because you're told to do it. I saw a quote, this is kind of unrelated, but I saw a quote on Instagram a few hours ago. It said, morality is doing what is right regardless of what you're told, and religion is doing what you're told regardless of what is right. Something like that. I loved that quote. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god, this is exactly how I feel about it," because that's kind of the root issue. And religion is a huge part of almost every society. And that's kind of what it comes down to. It's about doing what you're told, regardless of what your intuition says, regardless of what you know to be true in your heart is right or wrong. And I think there are a lot of things that when you really ask yourself, does this feel right? The answer is no. But people are conditioned to be too afraid to ask themselves if it's right or wrong, which leads me back to the drowning person, the life preserver incident. It's the same issue. People are too panicked to think, too panicked to question things. It's easier to just get up, go to work, do what you're told, and let people tell you how you're supposed to live your life. That way, all you have to do is just, it's easier to map it out in your head. You don't have to think for yourself. You don't have to be creative. You don't have to be passionate. You don't have to take risks. You're just like, hey, everyone else does this and it works, and I guess I'll go do this step and then I'll do this next step. And even though it kind of sucks and I don't really feel like I'm getting anything out of it, I'm just going to do it. The problem is that it creates a bitterness in you, and you may lash out at other people. You may resent other people who are being more creative, and it just creates this sense of unfulfillment in your life, and then you end up taking it out on other people. You really don't want to do that. Nobody deserves that, and you have to remember other people should always matter more than anything else. Get your values back in order, because what is the point of working if not for each other? I mean, at the beginning, we were, in, I don't know, picture like a settlement. We were doing those things for the common good, for each other. And we would never value that over a relationship. We would never damage a relationship with someone. Again, with the religion, I saw a comment on a YouTube video. Apparently, this was, I didn't watch the whole video because it was too long, but apparently, this was said at some point in the video. Somebody said, I would rather, I can't picture a heaven without this person that I love. And it just made me so emotional, just picturing like a relationship where you maybe have someone who isn't religious. They're not even doing anything bad, but they don't exactly follow your same beliefs. And instead of saying you're going to go to hell, I feel so bad for you, you would say I don't want to go to heaven without you. So, you know, I'll I'll choose you. And then you just picture them hugging, and I don't know. I could picture that in like an emotional moment in a book or a TV show or a movie, and it would be really effective. So, um, I think that if we if we really try to get back to the core values, we'll realize that the way that we treat each other and how we care about each other is all that matters. I think we can all relate to those emotional moments when you have a fight with someone. Both people or one person is being stubborn, and you both just say it doesn't matter, and you just you hug it out and you cry, and you realize that the way you feel, the way you treat each other is always going to be the more important thing. It's easy to forget that. You get petty, you get angry, and you forget that the relationship isn't worth it. You don't want to throw away the relationship over a fight, over disagreements. So ask yourself if you're being the petty one. I think if you even have to ask yourself that, you're already answering it. Don't be the one who's saying, well, that person didn't reach out to me or that person left me. Like, just, you know, don't do that to someone, especially not if it's like, if it was once a really strong relationship, if you already had a connection with that person. Don't let a stupid disagreement destroy it. I'm not saying that you have to be friends with everyone, but don't do that to the friends you already have. Um, and if they do it to you, there's nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. If they shut you out, you can't just sit there begging for their approval, begging for them back. Just let them go. They've made their choice, and it's sad. It's sad, but, you gotta find someone who won't do that to you. That's all I can say. Um, but yeah, make sure that you're not the one doing it. It's pretty easy to tell. You would know. um, Oftentimes it's related to someone just being who they are or having different beliefs, going a different direction. They're not insulting you, they're not attacking you, they're not telling you that they're going to cut you off. But then because of the decisions they made, you no longer feel like you can love them. How sad is that? It's tragic. And that's what we do to each other. And again, it stems back from forgetting why things matter in the first place, why we work, which I think is all the same thing. Work should not be thought of as just a regular thing. Oh, life, you go to work. Work is supposed to mean something more than that. It's supposed to actually matter in a way that you don't even have to think of it as work. You're just doing what should be done, what's supposed to be done. Of course you would, I don't know, clean up after yourself so that somebody else doesn't have to do it, clean up the mess that you left. Of course you would try to help out. If otherwise you'd be the only, if you're in like a small village where everyone knows what to do and everyone agreed that they're going to do this specific thing on this day to, like, I don't know, get like water from the well or whatever, I don't know, and you're the only person that doesn't do it. You know what I mean? Like that, you don't want to be that person. However, we live in a world that is so far beyond that. We are so prosperous. There is absolutely no reason to judge someone for not working if they're actually able to survive. It's different if they're taking advantage of someone else's kindness, but most people aren't. Most people are pretty respectful. And again, you don't know. It's not your business. So you really shouldn't be judging anybody either way. And there's just this big stigma around it. You have to go to work, you have to do this. And the people telling you this are angry and bitter and don't even know why they're working. They don't even know who they're working for or what the point of it is. They just think it's what's done and what has to be done. And they talk about how they're going to retire when they're like 65 or whatever, as if it's not really depressing. Do you know that the average life expectancy is like 72 or something like that? You know what, you get like 5 or 6 years of peace. The first few years you're learning how to walk and exist. Then you're sent to school where you're kind of crushed into this fear-based way of thinking, and then you go to work and you spend most of your life just slaving away trying to just afford to survive. And if you are a little bit more successful in your work and you make more money, then you're just encouraged to spend all of that money on making your life present as if it's nicer, but then you don't really have very much left to give. And then there's all sorts of things with like nursing homes and just all sorts of scams left and right that just take people for everything they're worth. And then you don't have that much left by the end. And then you get to retire and you still kind of feel like, well, now what? It's almost like you don't even know what to do because you've been living in this panic, this state of fear, not working for the right reasons for so long that you either have to face that reality and accept that maybe you spent a lot of your life doing something that you didn't really need to do, or that you should have been doing something else, or you have to just continue to lie to yourself and then start to wonder, well, maybe I want to go back to work. You lose that sense of purpose. Life was never supposed to just be sitting around doing nothing. That's not a good idea. But what you're doing, you should feel passionate about, and it should feel like it's giving you some sense of purpose. You don't want to just have a boring day-to-day life doing the same thing every day. You got to feel like you're actually contributing something to the world. And nowadays, that doesn't mean the same thing that it used to. It doesn't just mean going to work to get a paycheck. Contributing to the world, that's what work really is. That is work. And a lot of people who think that they're working, they're not thinking about how it makes a contribution to the world. They're not thinking about what it does. All they're thinking about is their own interests and how they can get what they think they need. It's very limited thinking, and it's very depressing, and this takes a huge toll on your mental health. So, for the sake of everyone you love and yourself, of course, ask yourself, why do we work? And hopefully you can come up with an answer and not give in to fear. If fear is an issue, I think I have other videos on that, but I don't know. I don't even know what I've made. Just check out my channel. Um, have a great rest of your day or night. I hope this was helpful. If you have any more questions, go ahead and leave a comment. And I'll see you next week. I post every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you very much.